Welcome back to Phoenix, everyone. That is the number 51 Phoenix racing car that will be piloted by Kurt Busch today. And again, what a difference a year can make. This time last year, he was driving a car powered by Penske horsepower. Well, just a few years ago, GQ magazine named Kurt Busch the third most hated athlete in all of pro sports. Now, as Kurt goes from Penske Racing's powerhouse to the one-car operation of James Finch, he sees it not as a demotion, but a trip back to his roots. Kyle, you had a chance to talk to him, and what does he feel about being that way on that list?
Well, he was third, but the last list I saw, he'd moved to 10th. So he's really moving up the list, even though it looks like he's moving down. You know, I sat down with him during the Charlotte media tour, and he had had a lot of time to reflect. He had had November, December, January, and I think where in the past Kurt had sat and looked at race cars and looked at racing and focused on that, I think he was more introspective. I think he looked at himself. He spent a lot more time getting comfortable being Kurt Busch, and he had some really good answers.
Roger, we don't make any good adjustments during the race. If we started 39th, we'd be 3 laps down running about 35th. Do you understand that?
We certainly know there may be some guys that took offense to things he said on that radio. I was afraid of what it was doing to the morale of his race team.
These are the stupidest built race cars I've ever driven in my whole life. Let's shut the radio off. Just wave at me when you want me to pit.
There is breaking news in the NASCAR world tonight.
It is a bombshell. Kurt Busch and Penske Racing have parted ways.
When you go back to last year and everything went down the way it went down, during those first couple of weeks, was it shock or was there a lot of turmoil, or where were you at in your head there?
I was like that little dog on Looney Tunes with Spike's the big bulldog, and then you got the little one, and he's just bouncing around. Come on, Spike, let's do this. Come on, let's do that. And I was trying to do everything, and that's where my family stepped in and just calm down. Hey, just relax. And that's the advice that I've been given. Go find the fun instead of, you know, where I'm just so focused on what I see out of the windshield all the time. What's in the race car that I never really saw the outside.
Yeah. If you don't mind, from your side, just your personal journey from Homestead to where you are now, what's that been like?
This was really a time where you learn who your real friends are, to really get into, you know, more of the meat and potatoes about life. I sit there in my office, got the trophies here, trophies there, and it's like, you know, is this what it's really all about?
Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon finished second and third. It's not going to be enough. Kurt Busch is the 2004 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
We were talking before we started taping this, and you made the comment, you know, we've got a single bullet. What is it like for you right now to be in a team that does have a single car operation? Does that limit where you think you can go?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, when you only have 6 cars on the shop floor, one of them has to be your backup, 2 of them are super speedways. Now you're really talking, you got 3 cars to start the season with. It's going to be a unique challenge just sitting in the car driving to, do I take this risk for this position, or do I need this car again in a couple weeks?
This is a hard question to answer. Can you win races?
I think we can.
Yeah.
I think we can. There's 2 ways to make this chase. Consistency, or if you get a couple wins, you're almost locking yourself in. So whether it's a restrictor plate race, whether it's a short track race, Bristol's my favorite.
Yeah.
Bristol's a great equalizer.
Here comes the 29. Can he get to him?
We're still green.
Busch wins it. Woo! It is Kurt Busch's 5th Bristol win.
It really doesn't take the big technology and the aerodynamics to win there. That's a perfect style place for Phoenix Racing. So we're going to have our weekends where we're on even level, even playing around with the rest of the teams. And then there's going to be races where we're going to struggle, and that's going to be the fun part of it.
So clearly Kurt Busch is going in with a great attitude. He was your 2004 champion, the first one in the chase format. 24 wins in 401 starts, 15 poles in his first season with Phoenix Racing. Of course, he does have a great attitude about it, guys, but is it safe to say, if you really sit down and do the math about this whole thing, this move might cost Kurt Busch maybe $20–30 million over a couple years?
At least that. And you know, and it may cost him his career. That's the big issue. Can he come back from where he's at? And that's the question that everybody wants to know. I do believe this. I think Kurt's a better person for what's gone on. I haven't sat down and talked to him. I don't think it was an act. Kurt's always been a really good guy and a great guy to hang out with. Once you get to the racetrack, though, he just gets so intense, and we hear it on the radio, we see it on the racetrack, that he just loses his focus or can't regain his focus. I think over the winter, he looked in the mirror and he said, hey, I'm part of the problem. I can be part of the solution. And I think James Finch and that team have given him a shot. The question will be, will sponsors and will top teams take a second look at Kurt Busch?
And that's the absolute deal. Kurt Busch in 2012, he's not auditioning his driving abilities. Here's a driver that has won 24 races. He has won at least one race for the last 10 years. He won that 2004 championship. Everybody knows you can win races with Kurt Busch. But unlike other sports, what Kurt Busch is trying to do in 2012 is sell himself to a possible future sponsor. And I love what he actually said at Daytona during that race. When they crashed there on lap 2, that car was almost not repairable. But he almost became the cheerleader. He said, guys, with what we've been through this speed weeks, we are going to do our best to not have a DNF in the Daytona 500. That's a great start right there.
Kurt Busch was let go from Jack Roush because of his temper. Kurt Busch was let go from Penske because of his temper. So this is not a second chance. This is a third chance. And I can remind everybody out there, we all have mouths on us. We all cuss. And I said to Kurt one time, I said, you know, when I'm on the radio and I get frustrated, I wish I could cuss like you, Kurt. He looked me dead in the eyes and he goes, yeah, it's gonna get me one day. And I'll be darned, it did. He knew it was coming. He just couldn't control it.
And I know he